Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going to be diving deep into human nutrition.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Always fascination topic.
always fascinating.
Yeah, and you sent me
A
some...
lot of stuff to look at.
Yeah, it looks like you've been wrestling with some pretty big questions about, what it means to nourish our bodies.
Yeah, trying to get past the surface level stuff and, really look
Or
at
the deeper.
the deeper principles at play.
Absolutely.
So where do we even begin with this?
Well, I think one of the things that, one of the ideas that you sent over that I found really impactful was this idea that the primary purpose of nutrients in nature may not be about extending our lifespan,
Okay.
but rather about ensuring successful reproduction.
Whoa.
Okay.
Right? So,
So you're saying
like when you think about...
all of the vitamins and minerals in plants and animals,
Yeah.
they're primarily there to help that species survive.
From an evolutionary perspective, once the genes have been passed on,
Not to help us live longer?
right, the biological imperative kind of shifts. It's kind of mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder if we've been thinking about this all wrong.
Totally.
And what about those RDAs,
Yeah.
the recommended daily allowances?
Yeah.
Are we aiming too low with these?
Well, it's a fascinating question, right? Because the RDAs are designed to prevent us from getting sick,
Right.
but are they really enough to help us thrive?
Yeah, are we just kind of getting by?
Exactly. What if there's this sort of subclinical malnutrition that's happening where we're not, outwardly ill,
Right.
but we're not exactly flourishing either?
That's a little unsettling.
It is a bit unsettling, isn't it?
So what are we missing?
Well, I think this also ties into this concept of biochemical individuality that you were exploring, which is this idea that we all have these unique needs based on our genes, our environment,
Right.
our
I
lifestyle.
thought one size fits all.
Exactly. Just like,
Yeah.
one-size-fits-all diet wouldn't work for everybody.
Right.
We can't assume that one set of guidelines is going to be optimal for everybody.
Okay, so individuality really matters.
It does.
But how do we even begin to figure out what works best for each of us?
Right.
It's so confusing. There's so much conflicting information out there.
There is, and it can be so overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I think a really good place to start is to understand how our bodies change as we age.
Okay.
After 40, our organs just don't function as efficiently as they used to, including those involved in nutrient absorption.
Makes sense.
So what worked for us in our 20s might not be cutting it later in life.
So we need to adapt as we get older.
Exactly.
Okay, but that just adds like another layer of complexity, doesn't it?
It does.
To this whole thing.
But knowledge is power, right?
Right.
And speaking of these, complex processes, you were also diving into some really fascinating stuff about how our cells generate energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
I got really interested in that concept of transcriptional hysteresis.
Right.
I mean, it sounds a little intimidating,
It does sound a bit intimidating.
but what does it actually mean?
Well, what it means is that consistently high levels of glucose, even if you're not overweight, can lead to changes at the cellular level that increase your risk of chronic diseases and accelerated aging.
So too much sugar.
Basically, it's like...
Even if we're breathing, we're getting enough oxygen.
Yeah, it's like our cells get stuck in a sort of rut with genes being switched on and off in ways that might not be beneficial in the long run.
Okay, that's interesting.
So it's not just about...
Because usually people think calories in, calories out.
Right.
But you're saying it's more than that.
It's not just about the quantity of what we eat, but the quality and the timing of our food intake.
Okay.
And this brings us to another really interesting area that you're looking into, which is the potential of deep fasting to kind of reset this metabolic programming.
That's where it gets really interesting for me.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. Like, is there a reset button for our cells?
Yeah, it's still an emerging field of research. But the research is suggesting that prolonged periods of significantly reduced calorie intake could potentially shift our cells back to a healthier state. Now, it's definitely not something to try without medical supervision.
Of course not.
But it's a fascinating glimpse into the potential for metabolic renewal.
So there's hope?
There is hope.
Okay, good.
But it's not just about deprivation, is it?
No, it can't be just about deprivation, right?
That's also about the foods that we choose to nourish ourselves with.
Right, and that's where that concept of nutrient density comes in.
Exactly.
But I think that's a good place to pause for now
Yeah.
and let everyone kind of digest all this information.
Absolutely. We've covered a lot of ground.
We've covered a lot.
Yeah.
So we'll come back and pick up
And we'll pick it up.
right where we left off.
Sounds good.
All right.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before we paused, we were talking about this idea that the primary purpose of nutrients in nature might be not longevity, but rather reproductive success.
Right, a real shift in perspective.
It is.
Makes you wonder if we've been looking at this whole thing
Yeah,
through the wrong lens.
totally.
If nature is prioritizing procreation,
Right.
what does that mean for those of us who are, trying to be healthy throughout our whole lifespan?
Right. It raises some really important questions, and it underscores this need, I think, to move beyond these simplistic notions of, good foods and bad foods, and instead start thinking about the nutrient density of what we consume.
Right.
This idea that two foods can have the same caloric value, but vastly different impacts on our metabolism and our overall health.
Yeah, like comparing a candy bar to a bowl of broccoli.
Actually,
Same number of calories.
right.
But one is giving you a lot more.
Way more bang for your buck.
Yeah, in terms of vitamins and minerals and fiber.
The candy bar might give you a quick burst of energy, but it's essentially empty calories.
Right.
Whereas the broccoli is packed with nutrients that support all sorts of bodily functions, from your immune health to cellular repair.
So it's not just about how much we eat. It's the quality of those calories.
Absolutely.
Which makes me think about all this research on processed foods.
Yeah.
How they often lack the nutritional value
Yeah, they just don't have the same punch.
of whole foods.
Right. Because processing often strips away a lot of those valuable nutrients.
Right.
And what you're left with is refined sugars, unhealthy fats,
Ugh.
artificial additives.
Right. All the stuff that's not good for you.
That can actually be detrimental to your health.
And this is all connected to that other point that I found really interesting, which is the impact of processed foods on our gut microbiome.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're creating this internal environment that's hostile to all the beneficial bacteria.
Exactly. And when our gut microbiome is out of whack, it can contribute to a whole host of problems.
Yeah.
Everything from digestive issues to immune dysfunction to even mood disorders.
It's all connected.
It's all interconnected.
So this is a lot to take in.
It is.
It's fascinating, but it's also overwhelming.
It can.
How do we navigate all this noise and make informed decisions about what to eat?
Right.
It's one thing to understand all these concepts,
Yeah.
but putting them into practice is a whole other challenge.
Absolutely. And I think that's where behavior change comes in.
Okay.
One of the most effective strategies for making lasting change is to focus on habit formation.
So making healthy choices so automatic
Yeah.
that they become second nature.
Exactly.
But how do we actually do that?
Right. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
I think one key is to start small and build gradually.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to overhaul your entire diet overnight,
Right.
just focus on incorporating one or two healthy habits at a time.
Okay.
Maybe it's swapping sugary drinks for water,
Okay.
or adding an extra serving of vegetables to your dinner plate.
So setting realistic goals.
Yeah.
And celebrating those small victories.
Exactly. It's also about creating a supportive environment for yourself.
Okay, how do we do that?
Well, this could mean, stocking your kitchen with healthy foods. Makes sense.
Planning your meals in advance.
Right.
Or even enlisting the support of friends and family.
So setting yourself up for success
Exactly.
by removing as many obstacles as possible.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of mindset. Instead of approaching healthy eating from a place of deprivation and restriction, focus on the abundance of delicious and nourishing foods that you can enjoy.
So it's not about what we're giving up.
Right.
It's about what we're gaining.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about shifting our perspective to one of nourishment and self-care.
I like that.
Yeah.
But what about those times when we're faced with, tempting treats or social situations that revolve around food?
Yeah, those can be tough.
It's easy to get derailed.
It is.
You're at a birthday party, there's cake,
Yeah,
suddenly all your best intentions go out the window.
it happens.
How do we navigate those situations?
Yeah, without feeling deprived or like we're constantly battling temptation.
Right.
I think one of the most helpful concepts here is balance.
It's not about denying yourself completely,
Right.
but it's about finding a balance that allows you to enjoy those indulgences occasionally without letting them derail your overall progress.
So having a slice of cake doesn't mean you've ruined your entire week
Exactly.
of healthy eating.
Right. It's about giving yourself permission to enjoy those special moments
So,
without guilt or judgment.
makes sense.
And it can be helpful to practice portion control.
Okay.
Maybe you have a smaller slice of cake or you savor it slowly, really appreciating the flavors.
So it's about being mindful and intentional,
Exactly.
even in those moments
Even in those moments of indulgence.
of indulgence.
And remember, food is meant to be enjoyed.
Right.
It's part of what makes life so rich and vibrant.
Yeah.
But, sometimes our relationship with food can become complicated by stress and emotions.
Oh, yeah.
You touched on this in your research as well.
We've all been there,
Right.
reaching for that bag of chips or that pint of ice cream.
Yeah, when you're feeling stressed or down.
When we're feeling down, yeah.
It's a common coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But it's important to find healthier ways to manage that stress and nurture our emotional well-being.
So finding outlets that nourish our minds and souls,
Exactly.
not just our bodies.
This could involve things like exercise,
Okay.
meditation,
Right.
spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones,
Yeah.
pursuing hobbies, anything that brings you joy and relaxation.
Right.
Right.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
I mean, from the evolutionary purpose of nutrients to mindful eating to meal planning,
Yeah.
finding balance, coping with stress in healthy ways.
It's been a whirlwind.
It's been a whirlwind of insights.
Yeah. But the core message here, I think, is that we have more power than we realize to shape our health and well-being through the choices that we make every single day.
Right.
It's a journey of self-discovery,
Yeah.
and there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So as we wrap up, what's one final takeaway you would like to leave our listeners with?
I would say trust your body's wisdom.
Okay.
It knows what it needs to thrive.
Mhm.
By listening to its signals, experimenting with different approaches, and approaching nutrition with a sense of curiosity and compassion, you can create a way of eating that nourishes you on every level.
Beautifully said. And to our listener, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to explore these concepts further.
Yeah.
What resonates most with you?
Right.
What small changes can you make today to start moving towards a healthier and happier relationship with food?
Absolutely.
Until next time, happy diving.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Before the break, we were starting to get into the practical side of things.
Yeah.
How do we take all this knowledge and actually
Right, put it into practice.
put it into practice?
Exactly. And that's where things can get really exciting, I think. Because
Yeah.
it's not just about abstract concepts anymore. It's about empowering ourselves to make real changes
Right.
in our daily lives.
With what are some of those things we can do?
One technique that you highlighted in your research that I found really intriguing is this idea of mindful eating.
Okay, mindful eating.
Yeah.
So it's more than just chewing your food slowly, right?
It really is. It's about engaging all of your senses,
Okay.
savoring each bite, and being fully present in the moment.
Okay, so really paying attention.
Yeah, noticing the textures, the aromas, the flavors, and how the food makes you feel.
So not just shoveling it down while you're scrolling through your phone.
Exactly, because when we eat mindfully, we're more attuned to our body's cues of hunger and fullness.
That makes sense.
And this can help prevent overeating and foster a more harmonious relationship with food.
Right. So we're retraining ourselves to actually pay attention to what our bodies are telling us.
Right, instead of just relying on these external rules or restrictions.
Okay, I like that.
And, another practical strategy that can be super helpful is meal planning.
Okay, whenever I hear meal planning, I think of those perfectly organized people.
Yeah.
With, color-coded containers and spreadsheets.
Right. Not necessarily.
Is that what you mean?
No meal planning can be as simple or as structured as you like.
Right.
The key is to just have a plan in place,
Okay.
even if it's just a general idea of what you're going to be eating for the week.
Right.
This can help you make healthier choices, avoid those impulsive decisions, and even save time and money.
Right. So instead of scrambling at the last minute to figure out what's for dinner,
Exactly. You've got a roadmap for the week.
you've got a roadmap.
Yeah. And it also reduces the temptation to order takeout or reach for those less than healthy convenience foods.
I could see how that would be really helpful.
Yeah. And it probably helps with grocery shopping too, right?
Right. Less impulse buys.
Less waste.
Less wasted food. Yeah.
Yeah. So meal planning can be a win-win for both your health and your budget.
Right.
But, even with the best intentions, there will be times when we're faced with tempting treats or, social situations that revolve around food.
Yes. Birthday parties, holidays.
Yeah, those can be real willpower challenges.
How do we deal with those?
Yeah, how do we navigate those situations without feeling deprived or like we're constantly battling temptation?
Right.
I think one of the most helpful concepts here is balance.
Okay, balance.
Yeah, it's not about denying yourself completely,
Okay.
but it's about finding a balance that allows you to enjoy those indulgences occasionally without letting them derail your overall progress.
So having a slice of birthday cake
Right.
doesn't mean you've ruined your entire week of healthy eating.
Exactly. It's about giving yourself permission to enjoy those special moments
Okay.
without guilt or judgment.
Permission to enjoy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it can also be helpful to practice portion control.
Okay.
Maybe you have a smaller slice of cake or you savor it slowly, really appreciating the flavors.
So being mindful even in those moments.
Exactly. Being mindful and intentional even in those moments of indulgence.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And remember, food is meant to be enjoyed.
Right. It should be pleasurable.
It's part of what makes life so rich and vibrant, but, sometimes our relationship with food can become complicated by stress and emotions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Stress eating is a real thing.
It is. It's a common coping mechanism.
It is, yeah, for sure.
But it's important to find healthier ways to manage that stress and nurture our emotional well-being.
So finding outlets that nourish our minds and our souls, not just our bodies.
Exactly. This could involve things like exercise meditation, spending time in nature, connecting with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, anything that brings you joy and relaxation.
Right.
Yeah,
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
we really have.
From the evolutionary purpose of nutrients
Yeah.
to mindful eating meal planning.
Right, finding balance.
Finding balance, coping with stress in healthy ways.
It's been a whirlwind of insights.
Yeah, it really has.
But the core message here, I think, is that we have more power than we realize to shape our health and well-being through the choices that we make every single day.
So it's really about taking control.
It's a journey of self-discovery, and there's no one-size-fits-all approach.
So as we wrap up, what's one final takeaway you'd like to leave our listeners with?
I would say this: trust your body's wisdom. It knows what it needs to thrive by listening to its signals, experimenting with different approaches, and approaching nutrition with a sense of curiosity and compassion. You can create a way of eating that nourishes you on every level.
Beautifully said. And to our listener, if this deep dive has sparked your curiosity, I encourage you to keep exploring these ideas. What resonates most with you? What small changes can you make today to start moving toward a healthier and happier relationship with food? Until next time, happy diving.